You're watching and listening to WJHI 98.5 LP Jeffersonville and Channel 184 for a socially distanced production of Sports Talk with Chaz Waters. And I'm here with varsity head coach of the 2020 sectional champions, Isaac Parker. Congratulations on the big win on Friday over New Albany.
I appreciate it, man. It feels great. I'm real happy for the boys.
So going back to last week, going into that game, obviously there was a lot of hype and attention following the Floyd win. Talk about your team and how you channeled that going into the game.
Yeah, I didn't have to do much. I didn't have to do anything. We had discussed all season long, and of course a lot of it was associated with negatives, with losses. But you got to have amnesia. You got to forget about last week. Forget about last week. And we used the same idea going into Monday. Forget about last week. Last week's over. You have a chance to make history this week. And actually, I've been misquoting, and I think I said that this was number 6, when in all reality, I believe this was number 5. So I didn't do what we did justice. There's only been 4 other teams, man, it was a fun week.
It was obvious your players were locked in going into the game. You guys got off to a quick start. You had the 3-and-out and then the touchdown on the opening drive. Talk about that start for your football team.
The confidence again. It just it bled over from Bedford into Floyd, and from Floyd into last week. We made a lot of mistakes that first half, but they were resilient again. I remember at one point thinking we did start off hot. Man, Cole's pass to Maddox right up the middle was gorgeous. But I remember thinking, when we started to give up the lead, and New Albany seemed to be getting their offense going. Again, I remember thinking, why is everybody so calm? But the boys remained calm. Even at the half, they were calm. And, I didn't know if they were flat, and that was my fear. But obviously, I misread that completely, and they came out in the second half on a vengeance. And
you talked about the confidence. Is that something you've tried to establish as a coach for this program?
I think the consistency established that. Of course, the off-season's huge. Being able to lift weights and, and develop a lot of confidence in your strength is big. But I think this year the consistency of our message and knowing, when they showed up to practice, when they show up to conditionings, when they show up to, that it's going to be the same. It's the same guys, it's the same staff. We're all here for you. Same kids show up. We're all here for each other. And I think that the consistency helped develop the confidence. And then, once you get the confidence and you get a little bit of success, I think it all just grows from there.
And you talked about those big plays from New Albany. Late in the first half, they really started to establish themselves offensively. What did you see there and the big plays over the top from New Albany?
Their speed is, we knew this going in. I believe I said it last week, that's a fast football team. They have a ton of athletes, and I know those young men worked hard. And, of course, you hate to see a season in for any young man that's poured himself into it. But their speed we knew was going to be tough to harness. We had a couple blown coverages, which resulted in very deep passes, great plays by the offense, and they capitalized on our mistakes and gave up 14 points off of it. I think special teams was big for us to try to harness that and bring it back in for us as well.
And then in the second half, the dominating performance by Jordan Ferguson. I know I sound like a broken record asking about him. I know you get asked about him all the time, but talk about him in that second half, how he just took over and went off.
I tell you, I don't remember exactly what his numbers were going in. I know he was just over 1,000 yards going into the playoffs. I can tell you that he's at over 1,450 now. And he doubled his touchdowns from 6 during the regular season to 12 now. He's doubled up his touchdowns. He is a constant. You talk about consistency and confidence, and it's easy for a coach to become confident in your offense with the consistent output that he produces. And again, I'll say the same thing. Being a guy that was an offensive line coach for so many years and played offensive line, you can't forget the big guys. They have played. These past 2 games have been the best offensive line play I've seen in a very long time. There's a correlation between Cole not getting knocked down in a sectional championship one time to the amount of rushing yards that we were able to put out. The offensive line is the consistency there.
And, Jordan and that offensive line were so dominant, and that was probably the biggest success you had in the game. But the biggest play had to have been the Davari punt return. Talk about that crazy play, running down the sideline, running in front of you guys for the touchdown.
It was kicked, to the opposite side of the field, and generally, the goal is on punt returns to make one person miss. You make one person miss, and generally you're going to have some sort of a lane to get a decent return. And I remember thinking as he's running directly towards me, I remember thinking he's coming all the way over here. And when he was able to turn the corner, he had a little bit of a little afterburner speed kick in, and you know, we give DeVarie a rough time because if you recall in the Jennings County game, he also returned a punt that he fielded at, I think it was the 5, and he took it all the way back and was tackled by the punter at the 1. So we like to, you know, rib him a little bit about getting walked down by a punter. But boy, I tell you, there wasn't anybody catching him on that one. It was fun to, you know, I'm glad it happened right by our sideline. It actually brought a little bit of excitement from the sideline because it was right there, and he deserved it.
And you talked about how your football team was so calm. You've had to handle adversity against Floyd and New Albany. What is it about this squad that they're not phased?
You know, the fact that they're still here playing football speaks volumes about who they are as young men. You know, the senior class and the junior class, I'm their 3rd head coach. And, you know, they've overcome a massive amount of inconsistency, you know, both during the season and the off season. They missed out on an off season when Coach Browning left, and they missed out on an off season when Coach Gleasing left, and they missed out on an off season last year because of COVID. But they're still here, and they're still showing up, and they're still pouring themselves into a program. And, you know, all of that consistency builds up to, again, I go back to the constant. The constant is that they're going to deal with adversity. There's going to be adversity, and they've rolled with it. You know, I had a guy that was watching the game. It's an alumni, a football player, alumni. He's a police officer as well. I actually was the SRO here for a while, Captain Settles now, excuse me. Captain Settles, Rusty Settles. And he said that he was watching the game. He had a detail he had to work, and he couldn't be down there. And he was watching the game and couldn't believe that. He said, man, the guys were calm at the end of the game. Like right before you won, he goes, I mean, you know you're going to win. You're up 10 points. You have the ball. You're taking knees. And just watching the sideline, and everybody's still calm. And he's like, I didn't know what was going on. So, you know, again, it's the calmness.
So then you talked about kneeling the ball, the final seconds ticking away. But then your sideline exploded with excitement when you realized you were going to win the sectional championship. Just talk about that feeling as a Jeff guy to bring home just only the 5th sectional title to the school.
Yeah, I remember watching Maddox. He was jogging off the field towards me, and it just you know it's there. You know that we met. That was our first goal of the season that we met. Our first goal was to win the first game. And we didn't do that, and then it was to you know, we want to win conference, and we didn't do that. Third goal is we got to win sectional, and you know, to see that the effort they put in and the roller coaster ride it's been this season, and you know, you have a kid, you know, like a Maddox that's jogging off the field, and what he went through, missing out on the entire first 9 weeks, and started playing after that. You know, he didn't step in until the Jennings week, and he's jogging towards you, and you can see the emotion in him. It's important to him. You can feel the energy building on the sideline, and right when he embraces me, I had the best bath I've had on the sideline this year. I mean, they got me good on that one. But it's tough to put into words. You know, I think that this has only happened 4 other times, and I think it makes it more special. Again, I'll go back to my senior season. We started off 1-4. And we were able to flip it around and go on an 8-game win streak, and we won sectionals, and of course lost in the regional finals to Rex Grossman. But these young men in Bloomington South, but these young men get a chance to step up this week, and they get to play for what has never been done here before, and that's special.
So you mentioned that game against Rex Grossman. Can you talk about that game in the regional when you were a player in 1998?
Yeah, it's how we got there was a crazy ride. I remember very vividly. Again, we started off rough and we went on a streak. We played Providence. We opened up our win streak with Providence, and again, it was that confidence week after week. And we knew we were going to be a good team. We had a problem putting it together, and we had opened up with New Albany in the sectionals. We played real well against them and moved on to Castle. And Castle had beat us by several points. I think it was probably flirting with 30 points the opening game of the season. And they had the lead going into, there was under a minute left in the game, and I remember walking or jogging out on the field and thinking to myself, again, calmness, there was a confidence, well, we're going to be okay, we're going to return this for a touchdown, and we're going to win the game. Which I look at now and think, man, that was pretty, I don't know where my mind was then. And we returned it back to the 20, I believe it was, to their 20, and we scored with 8 seconds left to win that game. And then you go into the regional or the sectional championship game, and that was a back and forth, which we ended up securing the win there in the last few minutes. Which one of my favorite memories of high school was listening to the replay of Teddy Throckmorton's play-by-play of it. Man, he was excited with that game. And then you step into the game against Bloomington South, and it was nobody gave us a chance. And we came out. We were up 21-7. I believe it was 21-7 at the half. And came out and had the ball in the second half and drove down the field. We ended up turning it over, and man, the momentum shift was big. And Rex started doing really well and completed several passes on us. And I can't remember the tailback's name, and I apologize. I tell you, that young man deserves the respect of that. He played a phenomenal football game. We ended up losing, which was a heartbreaker. But again, you go back to the emotion of that. I remember it was a tough time to walk off the field when you had that type of run. And it was tough to see it end. Hopefully these young men walk into this Friday with the same confidence we had going into that Friday.
And so then you talked about the running back for Castle Bloomington South when you played them. Castle has a good running back. Floyd, and New Albany both have good running games. What has gone into really your run defense has been dominant in the later part of the season, and you look to continue that on Friday. What has gone into that defensive mindset by Josh Schindler and those players?
Coach Schindler has done an amazing job. He did the same thing last year. If you look at the points per game we gave up last year, a lot of that was due to lack of offensive production. You look at, for instance, the opening game last year against Fern Creek. There's 8 minutes left in the game, and we're down by 1 score, and that's it. But you also look at the time of possession and see that the offense only had the ball for 16 minutes that game. And you can't win that game. He has been a constant as far as developing successful game plans. Flipping it around to New Albany or to Floyd, he had an idea of what he wanted to do and what he thought would work. We sat down and talked about it. And I'm to a point now with him where I have blind trust in the guy, which I've always have. He's a very loyal friend. We've been friends for a long time. He graduated from Jeff in '95. That's a lie, 97. I gave him a couple more years. We've been friends for quite some time. So I have a blind trust in him as well. But when it comes to developing game plans, I just, you trust the guy. What are you thinking, Coach? And, he'll lay out his game plan, and he has been masterful the last few weeks with what he wants to do. We expect that again this week, put a little pressure on.
Well, you mentioned the Fern Creek game last year. Just a short year ago, you coached your first game for Jeff as a head coach. Did you foresee bringing this trophy in here and winning a sectional so early in your coaching career?
You always do. You always want that success. And I know last year we had a ton of talent. And as a staff we grew. There was a lot of, I'm a first-time head coach last year. Coach Schindler was a first-time defensive coordinator last year. And the offense, we had the consistency with Coach Cardwell, who, called a lot of the offense for Coach Ware. Coach Leonard's really stepped up this year and has taken a big role in the offense and has done a phenomenal job with that, especially as of late. But it's to say that I didn't expect it. That wouldn't be true because I know what we have here. I know the caliber of athlete we have and the type of young men we have here. It was getting them to believe in what we were, the product that we were putting out. And it's again, I go back to the day that I saw the switch go off. And if I could figure out what exactly happened and I could patent that or I could put it in a bottle, I'd be wealthy. It was a combination of everything, and it's just the switch flipped, and man, they're playing good football.
And I remember last year we did a coaches show. I think it might have been our first one. You talked about changing the narrative and the culture here at Jeffersonville for football. Do you think you've accomplished changing that narrative this year and winning the sectional title?
I don't think it's a short-term fix. I think it's a long-term fix, and it's a long-term project. And I think that the day I try to take this approach with everything I do. The day you set your ceiling is the day that you probably need to retire. The day that you decide, hey, I'm the best there is probably the day you need to retire. And I know that as a head coach, I've got a long way to go. I've got a lot of growth left. Tons of it. That's why I reach out and talk to as many coaches as I can, and try to research the best I can. So to say that I think we've reached that, absolutely not. And I hope to God in 20 years from now, if I'm around that long, as far as if they'll have me that long, you hope that and that I'm still carrying that same mindset of not setting that ceiling, continuing to grow, evolve with the game, try to adapt, and hopefully we can look back and go, man, that was a fun run.
So then you play Castle this Friday, you travel to Evansville to take on the Knights, a chance to win your first regional for Jeffersonville. What would it mean as a Jeff guy to bring home that regional championship?
I think the most impactful thing it would do is I want to be able to, hopefully we can put together a plan and we can execute all week and have the best week of practice as we can to get there, so these young men can bring something home that's special. They already have, but I want it for the players. I want them to continue this run. At this point in the year, every week you get together is a blessing. I remember last year, I think it was going into the sectional championship week. The big thing is we want 4 more quarters together. Let's get 4 more quarters. Let's extend the season 4 more quarters. And I hope that this time next week we're sitting here smiling with a different friend sitting between us, and having the same conversation again.
Well, thank you for coming on today, and congratulations once again on the sectional championship. We hope that there is a lot more of that type of winning coming here for Jeffersonville football. Once again, this has been 98.5 WJHI LP Jeffersonville and Channel 184 for a socially distanced production of Sports Talk with Chaz Waters.